Africa is done pretending. It's shedding the masks, dismantling the charades, and stepping into its authentic power. For too long, the continent played a role written by others, a narrative imposed from the outside, dictating its destiny. The weak, always portrayed as vulnerable and dependent. The poor, perpetually in need of external assistance, the one needing rescue. A narrative that stripped away agency and potential. That script is finished. The final scene has been played. The show is over. The curtain has fallen on that outdated performance. Africa is walking off the stage, turning its back on the old expectations, taking its resources with it, no longer willing to be exploited for the benefit of others. This is more than attitude. It's not just a change in demeanor. It's a seismic shift in global power, a fundamental realignment of the world order. Africa isn't asking for a seat at the table. It's not seeking permission or validation. It's building its own. A new table, a new system, a new future defined on its own terms. No more polite smiles hiding frustration. The days of quiet diplomacy, masking deep-seated resentment, are over. Now, there's a unified, unapologetic voice, a chorus of strength and determination rising from the continent. We are not your charity case. We are not defined by our needs, but by our potential. We are not your gas station. We are not simply a source of resources to fuel your economies. We are 1 billion strong, a force to be reckoned with on the global stage, and we're reclaiming what's ours, taking back control of our destiny, our resources, and our narrative. The world is stunned, caught off guard by this display of strength and self-determination, unsure how to react to this new narrative, struggling to understand the shift in power dynamics. For centuries, Africa provided raw materials, fueling the industrial revolutions of other nations, while the West delivered finished goods and lectures, a deeply unequal exchange that perpetuated dependency. That arrangement was built on a lie, a carefully constructed illusion. African weakness, Western indispensability, a false dichotomy designed to maintain control. Now, that lie is being dismantled, brick by brick, truth by truth. The continent is waking up, shaking off the shackles of the past, realizing its stolen strengths are its greatest assets, recognizing the immense potential within its people and its land. This awakening is public, loud, and unstoppable, a force that cannot be ignored or suppressed. It's in the speeches of new leaders who are bold, visionary, and committed to a brighter future, the actions of governments, implementing policies that prioritize the needs of their citizens, and the energy of the youth, the driving force behind this transformation, demanding change and shaping the future. Africa is done accepting crumbs from its own banquet, no longer content with the scraps left behind by others. It's claiming the kitchen, the recipes, and the restaurant, taking control of the entire process, from creation to consumption. Welcome to the grand opening. The dawn of a new era for Africa. To truly understand where Africa is heading, we must first confront its past. We need to see where it's been, the forces that shaped it, and the legacies that continue to resonate today. For centuries, the continent was carved up by outsiders, its fate determined in distant European capitals. In 1884, at the Berlin Conference, European powers, with little to no knowledge of the diverse cultures and geographies of Africa, drew lines on a map. They were splitting peoples and ancient kingdoms, disrupting established trade routes and social structures, with no regard for the complex realities on the ground. These weren't just arbitrary borders on a map. They were deep, lasting scars, strategically designed for one thing and one thing only: easier and more efficient extraction of wealth and resources to benefit the colonizers. The strategy of divide and conquer worked all too well, pitting ethnic and tribal groups against each other in manufactured conflicts, while precious resources flowed out of the continent, enriching foreign powers. Railways and roads were built, leading directly to ports, not to connect African communities or foster internal trade, but solely to efficiently export the continent's riches to Europe. After independence, a new generation of leaders inherited these artificially fractured nations and were essentially told by the departing colonial powers, "Make it work with the very tools we use to oppress you." The result was often tragic: instability, military coups, and devastating civil wars. conflicts that can often be directly traced back to those arbitrary lines drawn in Berlin. And during the Cold War, foreign powers further exploited this chaos and instability, propping up brutal dictators and fueling devastating proxy wars across the continent. But today, a new Africa is rising, one that is determined to erase those artificial lines in spirit, forging a new sense of unity and shared purpose over the old divisions. A new generation of leaders and young people increasingly see the old colonial borders for what they truly were, tools of control and oppression. They see Pan-African unity as the only true path to lasting freedom and prosperity. The power of a truly united and self-determined Africa is precisely what the colonial masters always feared most. Now, across the continent, communities are actively healing old wounds, fostering reconciliation, and weaving the diverse threads of their histories and cultures into a vibrant, new Pan-African identity. The scars of the past are slowly, painstakingly becoming the threads of a strong and resilient shared future. Enter Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso, a name that's resonating far beyond the borders of his nation. He is the face of a new, defiant Africa, one that is no longer willing to accept the status quo. Young, direct, and unafraid, he says what others only whispered. The truths that many have felt, but few have dared to articulate. No more. Traoré saw a nation rich in gold but poor, a paradox that fueled his determination for change. He witnessed foreign troops fighting terrorism as things worsened, a situation that seemed to benefit everyone but the Burkinabe people. And he observed resources managed by outsiders, with profits flowing away from the communities that rightfully owned them. He disrupted the system, challenging the established order and demanding a new path forward. He rejected the old guard and colonial caretakers, those who had long profited from the exploitation of his nation. His message: African problems need African solutions, a call for self-reliance and an end to dependence on foreign powers. And African wealth belongs to African people, a simple yet powerful statement of economic sovereignty. He's not just a leader, he's a symbol of hope and change for a generation yearning for a better future. He's a symbol for millions of young Africans who see in him a reflection of their own aspirations and dreams. Traoré challenges the status quo at the UN and beyond, fearlessly speaking truth to power on the world stage. He's questioning why a rich continent is home to the world's poorest, demanding accountability and justice for his people. He calls out neocolonialism, exposing the subtle ways in which foreign powers continue to exploit Africa's resources and people. He shines a light on unfair trade, the rigged system that keeps African nations dependent on the global north. And he fearlessly criticizes currency manipulation, particularly the CFA franc, a tool of economic control. His authenticity and courage have ignited a movement, inspiring others to stand up and demand change. He's the spark lighting a prairie fire of Pan-African pride, a resurgence of unity and self-determination across the continent. Across the continent, youth see in him the courage they've been waiting for, the audacity to challenge the old order and build a new future. Traoré is the embodiment of a new era, an era of African awakening and self-determination. Sovereign, unapologetic, and bold, what began as a tremor became an earthquake. Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger told France to leave. French troops, once protectors, were seen as occupiers. The people had enough. New leaders didn't just ask politely, they terminated military agreements and gave deadlines. The world watched as a former colonial power was forced out by some of the world's poorest nations. The eviction went beyond soldiers. Mining contracts were cancelled, the CFA franc was challenged, and French media was taken off the air. It was a systematic dismantling of neo-colonial control. United, these countries formed a front Paris couldn't break. This wasn't just about France, it was a message to the world. The Sahel is no longer a playground for outsiders. The people are now in charge. From the French withdrawal, something new emerged, the Alliance of Sahel States, AES. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger formed a mutual defense pact. An attack on one is an attack on all. This is no hollow organization. It's a shield against foreign intervention and a foundation for deeper integration. The West imposed sanctions, hoping to break them, but the AES only grew stronger. Now, they're talking confederation, unified trade, and economic coordination. The so-called problem of the Sahel is becoming a bloc of solidarity and self-reliance. The AES is Pan-Africanism in action, lean, agile, and internally driven. It's a blueprint for African security and sovereignty, independent of Western frameworks. The AES is the new reality in West Africa. It's a model others are watching closely. Africa's story has long been one of extraction. Wealth out, poverty in. Opaque contracts and foreign corporations left nations with pennies and devastation. Now, the deal is being torn up. Sahel governments are leading a resource reclamation movement. Our resources, our people. Burkina Faso is rewriting mining codes and building refineries to keep value local. Niger is demanding fairer uranium deals, asking, how can we be rich underground and poor above? This is about partnership, not plunder. Foreign investment is welcome, but on Africa's terms. The days of exploitation are over. Africa is now an assertive player, demanding its fair share. France and the West are reeling decades of influence in Africa, gone. France-Afrique's shadowy networks have been shattered. The loss is economic and geopolitical uranium gold markets and power projection. French leaders face tough questions at home. How did we lose Africa? The West sees the Sahel's upheaval as a threat to supply chains and influence. Old methods propping up leaders using aid as leverage are failing. The AES's unity is a shield against pressure. Western powers scramble to adapt, but Africa is now setting the agenda. For the first time, Europe is reacting, not dictating. The power dynamic has changed irreversibly. As old Western doors close, Africa opens new ones to the east and south. The continent is diversifying partnerships: BRICS, China, Russia, Turkey, the Gulf. This isn't about swapping masters, it's about options and leverage. China builds infrastructure without lectures, Russia fills the security vacuum. Africa is playing the field, building a web of relationships for maximum flexibility. This is Africa's foreign policy independence, no longer a pawn, but a player. By engaging with new partners, Africa is helping shape a multipolar world. The dance of global diplomacy has a powerful new partner. The engine of this movement: Africa's youth. 60% of Africans are under 25, connected, educated, and demanding change. They see leaders like Traore as icons, their defiance as their own. On social media, they rally for Pan-Africanism, organize protests, and wear their pride. Their vision: a united, prosperous Africa free from foreign domination. They reject old narratives of poverty and corruption. They want African solutions, African-built cities, and African culture on the world stage. Fiercely patriotic, yet deeply Pan-African, they know unity is the key. This is more than a political shift, it's a generational awakening. The old powers can't stop it. They're fighting an idea whose time has come. Africa's future is being written now by a generation determined to be the hero of its own story. The dawn of true African power is here. And it is bright. This is Insight Africa, where the future shines from within.